Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since we four were together. Today we're doing movie content. It's our favorite movies of the 21st century, the year 2000 to present. I'm here with Randy Nelson, Brian, Massey's Main Entertainment, and Doc, the usual contingent. And we've been talking about this for a while, and we're finally able to film it. More modern films for those who don't like the old stuff. Everybody can relate to these movies, I think, born in the last 25 years or so. I think we're going to have a wide variety because it is favorites. We're not judging the best. We're not picking the best. We're going with favorites, what appeals to us, stuff that we rewatch as much as we can. So the order tonight is going to be Doc number 1, Brian 2, Randy 3, and myself 4th. We're also going to include 5 honorable mentions prior to naming our list, and then we're going to go through it all in one shot. So, Doc, lead us off, please.
All right, here we go. Now, I will say this, a couple of things. Very hard to do. I had like a list of 45 or 48 flicks that I had to narrow down that I really could touch on almost any of them. And Lost in Translation is not anywhere on my list. So,
you had to get that shot in.
Let's just get that out of the way right now. What did I tell you? It'd be on a different list if we were doing something. But...
Nor will any Bill Murray be on your list.
I can't wait till we get to that, buddy. Don't worry about it. So I'll do my 5 honorable mentions, then we'll jump into the 10. So I like a good monster flick every once in a while. So I'm going with my rewatchable kind of thoughts here on the honorables. I got Cloverfield. That's one of my next.
Nice.
I have Tropic Thunder, which I think is just friggin' one of the better comedies we've seen in the last 24 years, I would put it as, and somewhere in that neighborhood. I guess, can I cheat and do like a trilogy? Because I like to drop a trilogy.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Lord of the Rings trilogy, I'll drop in there.
Okay.
That'll be my number 3. I do like some Marvel movies, and it's hard to leave some stuff off, but my 10 is my 10, so I'm going to drop Guardians of the Galaxy in there. I think it's a really fun Marvel flick. And I don't mind revisiting that. It's pretty entertaining. And I think my 5th honorable mention, I'm going to go with just a campy kind of flick that I like too, but I like U-571. I like my movies a lot, and I watch that when I get a chance. So
nice.
Very cool.
So we'll drop into the number 10. Number 10, I'm going to go Pan's Labyrinth right out of the gate. That's number 10 for me.
Nice.
I'm going to try to separate this in certain things, but that's a dark fantasy flick, man. It's messed up. It's a trippy ride. And there's lots of stuff that goes on in this movie that it probably doesn't get talked about enough, if you want the truth.
Agreed.
Number 9. Brian, a big shocker for you, buddy, on this one. Let me tell you, okay? It's Casino Royale, buddy. It's Casino Royale. So,
a Bond flick. Say it isn't so.
Bond flick, for sure. I think this is a fantastic Bond flick, and I enjoyed every part of this. It's nonstop action. It's got a great storyline. Sequences in this movie, I could talk about it until I'm blue in the face. I could watch this at any time, at any point in the movie. It's really, really well done, and brought back the Bond franchise, I think, to a different level. So these are my favorites, man. Number 8, I got Hell or High Water.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
A couple bank robbing brothers here with Ben Foster and Chris Pine, but Jeff Bridges hanging out in this one, chasing these guys down. This has a lot of elements I like in a movie, and we can talk about it that any kind of way you want. But Ben Foster is freaking fantastic in this flick, man. Just
excellent, tremendous,
great actor.
I get pulled into that kind of stuff sometimes, but I'm trying to give love to everything here. But I think 1917, my next flick, is kind of like a little bit of a masterpiece here in the last 25 years or so.
Yeah.
Especially in this genre. It gets really moves up my list in the war flicks in my overall catalog. It's so well done. It's some of the best filmmaking I've seen in a movie. I don't know how else I could say this. It's if you know the background story on the movie, that's one thing, but the way it shows and everything else behind it. And it flows, man. 1917's awesome flick. Number 6. I'm going to drop in my sci-fi like, man. I love Interstellar. So I'm going to drop it in there.
Nice.
It's a Nolan, I think, right? So I guess I like some Nolan.
Yeah.
This is just a crazy ride. I love the freaky story that goes with this movie too. So and I think Matthew McConaughey is really good in the lead in this, man. So
Yeah.
it's another one of these things, man. Put it on at any time, and I'm watching it. And I could drop that in here anywhere on my list of my top 10, to be honest with you. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at number 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, that moved up my ranking really high on my Quentin Tarantino list, man. I think this movie's fantastic. Really, really good. And I almost think it's almost my favorite DiCaprio role in some senses, man. I think he's incredible in it. And Brad Pitt's awesome. You get a lot of good acting with his movies, no matter what, I think. And he writes a script that goes with it. You get the right actors with a really good script. Just drives it home for me, man. I could watch that at any time. It's a longer movie, but man, it doesn't feel like it when you're watching it. I'll tell you that.
It doesn't.
Number 4 is The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Right in the middle of the Batman trilogy. But we've talked about this one before, at least Rich and Brian and I have anyway. And I think me and Brian have the same sentiment. I've only talked about it with one other flick. But
Right.
the movie-based movie with the guy being Batman and the Joker in the movie. That's it. Fantastic plot, great sequences, great action when it happens, and a great little underlying story to the whole thing. So Heath Ledger is fantastic in this movie, man. Top notch. Number 3. Man, how to do these. No Country for Old Men.
Nice.
Guess I love my acting, man, because it's, Javier and Josh Roland here are just stealing the show. It's just a cat and mouse game between these two guys for the better part of 2 hours with, a story that just has a lot of twists and turns inside of it, I just think this is one of these top 3 or whatever, how you want to put these. These are classics in my neighborhood, so. No Country's number 3. Told you it was hard to put in order. So number 2 is The Departed. Ensemble cast with fantastic acting and right up my alley here for some crime movie, man. This is perfect. Spies, The Seat. Like I said, this cast is fantastic, man. And everyone who's got a chance to talk in this movie just nails it. So very high on my Scorsese list anyway. So I got The Departed right here at number 2 for me in the last 24 years. But my number 1's Inglourious Basterds, man.
Wow, that's a lot of love.
That's a lot of love. I think I could watch that anytime. I debate it sometimes as being, does it have a chance to take out Reservoir Dogs for me for Quentin? So, and I've got it a little ahead of Pulp. So, Inglourious, I think, is just a movie that I think grips you and takes you through a whole bunch of different elements in the story that he's telling you, and that's an easy ride for me, man. Like I said, it's very hard to do. Placement might be one thing, but Inglourious is my favorite one in the last 24 years.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I love your list. I'm not going to tell you how many I have on it because I don't want to spoil the fun, but you hit on some big time movies, and they happen to be favorites of mine. A lot of them.
Nice.
So excellent job. All right, Brian, you're up.
All right, let's dive in here. Doc, you're going to recognize some of these as we kind of go along. I'll start with my honorable mentions. I've got at the 5 hole of honorable mentions, I've got Gangs of New York. So a little bit of Scorsese love here. Daniel Day-Lewis, Leo, Liam Neeson, John C. Reilly, just everybody's just like on par, great acting in it. Henry Thomas's character I really liked a lot. Cameron Diaz. I just thought this just an all-star cast, great acting. Number 4, my honorable mentions, I got Donnie Darko. Wow. Really surreal, dystopian fantasy, psychological thriller. Really, Jake Gyllenhaal does a fantastic job in this. The soundtrack's great. The imagery and special effects are really cool in it as well. Number 3, I've got the Let the Right One In, which is the Swedish version of the horror flick Let Me In.
Let Me In.
This one was directed by Thomas Alfredson. That one has so much more power to it, and it's closer to the novel, and which this child vampire moves next door to this little boy, and they begrudgingly and slowly become friends, and he ultimately finds out what he in the book is actually was a male, but they made her made the vampire female in the movie version, what she was eventually, and just a really great acting in it actually, and the story is just the right kind of pace, I think, for a vampire movie. Number 2 in this list is Captain America: Winter Soldier, my favorite of the Marvel movies. I think I've said it before, I'll say it again, is that what makes this one special is that you can eliminate the superhero elements and it's still a very good story. It holds up very well. And my number 1 in the honorable mentions, I've got 1917 here, just like Doc had it listed. I think the filmmaking in this is incredible. The one-shot sequence throughout the whole movie. Yeah, there was a couple spots where I thought they could have fit in a cut and maybe they snuck it in there. But boy, I tell you, you really had to kind of look for it to see if there was actually something there that you could latch a hold of. But really great filmmaking there, and I thought it deserved Best Picture that year. So. But to get to my top 10, Doc, unfortunately, I do have Lost in Translation here at number 10. Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson kind of embody this isolationism when they're both over in Japan. He's an aging actor who's over there on a commercial, and she's a girlfriend of a photographer played by Giovanni Ribisi. And really, they kind of find comfort in familiarity of the American tropes and cultures that they're used to. So they spend a lot of time together just kind of dealing with that. I think the pace of the movie is really good. It's interesting. I didn't think I would like Sofia Coppola's directing, but I had to eat my words on that one. So number 9, I picked Children of Men from 2006. That's Clive Owens and his dystopian movie about a society in which society couldn't no longer have children. And everybody, whatever, the last child born was, 20 some years before that. And they talk about the bleakness and the overshadowing of the bleakness of the whole film. And then it's overshadowed by the fact that there's this young woman who actually is pregnant in the movie that they're trying to get her to a safe place because they're not sure about whether her safety could be. Some factions might want to use her in bad ways and to leverage other factions in the world and stuff. So it's really interesting. Definitely worth checking out. Number 8 is Snowpiercer. Before he made Parasite, Bong Joon-ho made Snowpiercer, which is another dystopian film, kind of post-apocalyptic, in which the earth has frozen over, and the lone survivors are all on this train that encircles the globe every year, exactly 365 days. What you become aware of is that there's a caste system aboard the train, from the guy who runs the train, played by Ed Harris, all the way to the people that are in the rear section who are considered throwaway people. And it stars Chris Evans and John Hurt as well. All great acting in it. And just the tone of the film is just really, really good. Number 7 for me, I've got Tropic Thunder here. I wanted to have this movie here because it's a comedy, and we just don't get to see very many good comedies anymore. And I think that this one is a movie that could not be made today. I mean, you could make it. You'd be putting your career on the line, I think, if you did. But I remember the interview with Robert Downey Jr. when he was on Joe Rogan, and he asked him specifically, he's like, did anybody advise you against making this film? He said my mother did. He said his mother called him up. She goes, oh, Bobby, I've got a bad feeling about this one. I don't think you should take the movie, Bobby. And so he said, but he did take it, and it was mostly from Jamie Foxx, urged him that he should take it, and that,
that's right.
Really a satire of, those types of actors who would do something like that. I guess there was even a joke Jamie Foxx said at Robert Downey Jr.'s roast for his birthday party. He said, how dare you take all these black roles away from us black people? Interesting. Number 6 for me is Hell or High Water, Doc. I'm sure you appreciate that.
Right on.
Wow. Yes. 2 brothers embarking upon this day of bank robbery, just trying to get money to save the family farm, which has been discovered to have oil on it. And they're being chased down by, Jeff Bridges' character as the lawman who wants to bring them to justice as one of his last acts before retiring. So on to the top 5. I've got The Revenant here at number 5. Leo in a tour de force role for him as a injured frontiersman, Hugh Glass, who was brutally attacked by a bear, then left essentially for dead. It's about him overcoming that and seeking revenge on Tom Hardy's character, who had killed his son earlier in the film. Just it's a intense movie to watch. There's like every second is filled with some type of action and thrilling suspense that kind of carries the movie. There's just no lull in the whole film that kind of gives you a break from it. So number 4, The Departed. Doc, I know you had it much higher, but I have it here in the top 4. I mean, just an all-star cast. It's awful hard to find anything about this movie that you couldn't like. I mean, you had Leo and Damon basically playing opposite sides of the coin. Both are rats essentially for the other side, and at the same time in a self-preservation mode for themselves, just trying to survive the situations that they're finding themselves in. Stellar performances by Jack Nicholson and Alec Baldwin, and even Mark Wahlberg's characters, actually very enjoyable in it as well. I mean, just the list goes on and on about actors that are in that. Number 3, Doc, I also had The Dark Knight here in my top 3. It's really for the same types of reasons. I think it's a story that could hold up if you took away the superhero elements of it. I do think Ledger's portrayal of the Joker set the bar for how any type of villain, especially ones based on comic books, would have to be played. I think if you don't bring your A game now going forward, that it always would be a lesser than role. But he just plays this great embodiment of chaos, not so much a villain, but just absolute pure chaos. And Christopher Nolan does a bang up job here. Number 2, I've got No Country for Old Men here. I think, Doc, you had it at 3.
Yeah.
Great Coen Brothers film. I absolutely fell in love with Anton Chigurh's character in this. I mean, just the way he played it. Read a lot of college papers that were written about it, talking about how they talk about him being a force of nature, not so much a villain, and that he does have sets of rules that he expects to happen in his life. And when people break those rules, he takes them out. And then those he's unsure about, he gives them the opportunity of the 50-50 shot with the coin. Yeah. And then there's some that he just totally disregards altogether. So really great directing. The acting's top notch. But it's a shame that this and the next movie, my number 1 on my list, were up in the same year. I've got number 1. I've got There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson. I think Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal as Daniel Plainview is one to always be remembered. As great as Paul Dano's character was, I mean, in any other instance, it would have shined brightly on the screen. But you put him up next to Daniel Day-Lewis, even that character got overshadowed. Daniel's acting was just so good. Really, the movie's all about the embodiment of greed and unchecked and what I want to say, unchecked enthusiasm toward getting rich and famous and powerful and all those other things, and ends up getting everything that he ever wanted, what he thought he wanted, and end up destroying everything else in his life. Just a stellar movie, and probably my favorite movie last 25-30 years easily. So
awesome. Very good. Another list loaded with classics, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wow.
I'm liking to see 1917 get a lot of respect because it deserves it. It really does.
Sure it does.
Yeah.
You both featured it, so I'm happy about that. All right, Randy, you're up, man.
All right. I actually forgot all about The Dark Knight, but it probably would have been in here somewhere, maybe. Anyway, so I'll start with the ones I got listed anyway. My number 5 is, and I'm a big thriller fan, so there's going to be quite a few on here, but it's actually Signs by M. Night Shyamalan, sci-fi thriller with observances on faith. But at this time, it looked like he could do no wrong, but we didn't see The Happening and The Last Airbender. My number 4 is actually, I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. I've got Moonrise Kingdom,
Nice.
I love the
Nice.
scouting scenes in that movie, and the music in that one's really good. Number 3, I know you both have it in your top 10, but I have The Departed here. Martin Scorsese, great crime thriller. You already talked about that one. My number 2, I didn't know I could do the trilogy, but I had Return of the King from The Lord of the Rings, but you could consider all 3 of them there. And my number 1 has already been mentioned. That's for my honorable mentions is Children of Men.
Yeah.
Alfonso Cuarón, great sci-fi thriller.
Very good.
On to my top 10. My number 10, and I just rewatched this recently to make sure, and it's Shadow of the Vampire by Elias Marriage, and it's really this interesting premise. It's whether Max Schreck, the actor in the classic 1922 silent film Nosferatu, is actually a vampire. And it's set during the filming of that picture with William Dafoe playing the mysterious Shrek, and John Malkovich plays the director F.W. Murnau. It's a lot of fun, and I think he was nominated. I don't know if he won, but I don't see how William Dafoe didn't win for that.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, my number 9. Next, it's The Illusionist with Neil Berger directing. Yeah. It came out the same time as another good magician movie in The Prestige. But I really like the look of this film in the low lighting things, just how it looks. It's hard to describe. It just looked really unique. And the castle actually used in the movie I had been to in the Czech Republic, but we got there too late to see inside. So it was kind of disheartening. We go, oh man, that's really cool with all the antlers and everything. You've seen the movie. Yeah. But we did get to walk around the outside, but we didn't get inside. My number 8 is Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Nice. Your weird movie.
Yep.
Set during the Napoleonic Wars. It has this great sea adventure that puts you in the action. Weir does so well at creating what I would imagine this time period would be like. What would it be like to be on a ship like this? And it might have Russell Crowe's best performance. I always heard that they were talking about doing a sequel, but it never materialized. But I think it's a great movie. All right. My number 7. This is my comedy in here, and that's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou by the Coen brothers. Many people talk about the music, which is in this movie with T-Bone Burnett, who served as the music producer. But I think it's just a brilliant comedic performance by George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro. They put the film over the top. Loosely based on Homer's Odyssey, it's a great journey, and they're always in this entertaining array of characters that they meet along the way. And George Clooney, I thought I should have got nominated for that movie because I thought he was hilarious.
He was great. He was great.
My number 6, and here's a thriller in here. It's The Constant Gardener from 2005. Yeah. Another one of my favorite genre. This one has a lot of moving parts. You have this unrepentant drug companies, political intrigue, conspiracies, and it's set in Kenya, and much of it was filmed there, which I think really helps. Great performance by Ralph Fiennes and Rachel Weisz, who won an Academy Award. Yep. And her story is told in flashback, which is really cool. All right. My number 5 has been mentioned already by, I think, both of us so far. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino. Just like the title suggests, Once Upon a Time, this is kind of like a fairy tale, fantasy of what should have happened.
Right.
But there's so many great scenes in this movie, like Brad Pitt's character meeting Bruce Lee, although Bruce Lee's relatives were not happy about it.
That was great.
And there's and Leonardo's Western scene with the child actor, but it's just got, and it has the great dialogue that you expect in a Tarantino film. All right, my number 4 is a Swedish film, but not the one that Brian had. It's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Niels Arding Oplov. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's actually a Danish director in this Swedish film. And I just saw that he had done the pilot for Mr. Robot. I don't know if you're fans of that TV show, but
Yeah, I've only watched season 1. Yeah,
but and I have to be honest, I haven't seen the English version of this film, but and I've saw the two others, which were done by a Swedish director, but he only directed the first one, but they were good too.
Yeah.
It's, Roger Ebert made this comment that the main character, how do you say her name? Nomi
right?
Nomi Rapace, the actress.
Naomi Rapace, yeah.
Yeah. Where he said that the main character was more interesting than the movie, and the movie was very interesting. So, but it's a great thriller mystery. Number 3 might be a surprise here, and that's Gosford Park from Robert Altman.
Oh, wow.
Really?
It's this mystery whodunit where the character interactions are really more interesting than the mystery part of the movie. It chronicles the different lives of the upstairs versus the downstairs, the aristocrats versus the servant staff, set in the 1930s. Maggie Smith is great in this, Helen Mirren, and also Kelly MacDonald. And this was before the Downton Abbey. So I'm sure they got inspiration from this film.
From this.
The character interaction in this film is just amazing. And my number 2, I did say I was a big Wes Anderson fan, and it's the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Nice.
And if you're a Wes Anderson fan, you're either in the club with his movies or you're not. He's got these quirky characterizations and these unique sets. In fact, there was actually a book that came out, Accidentally Wes Anderson, that has places that could have been in a Wes Anderson movie, which is kind of unique. But also you get Ralph Fiennes, and this one is very good. And William Dafoe again, Ed Norton, Harvey Keitel, Jeff Goldblum, and many others. For me, it's just rewarding on each repeat, and it's the most Wes Anderson of all of Wes Anderson's films, if I can say. And my number 1 has also been mentioned, and it's No Country for Old Men, 2007, Joel and Ethan Coen. From the great opening monologue with Tommy Lee Jones, he kind of sets up the story that convinces himself that it is time to retire, with one of the scariest villains in Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh. And he's, like you said, an unstoppable force. The store clerk scene where he's going to flip the coin is nerve-wracking scenes to watch, and the guy doesn't know how much. Well, I think he does know how much.
I think he does.
The line,
yeah.
But it's an absolute classic to me. That's my number 1.
Great,
nice.
Great, fantastic. I like everybody's list. It's hard to not like them. They're all great movies. All right, here we go. Honorable mentions for me. I put a comedy on here just for the heck of it. The one that makes me laugh the most of the last 25 years, and that is The Hangover.
It's close.
It's just insanely funny. I mean, the bachelor party in Vegas, it's vulgar humor. There are lots of hijinks, and it's got the hilarious Mike Tyson cameo in it.
That's awesome.
It's just fantastic. Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis. They had the great chemistry, and Heather Graham's easy on the eyes. So it was just a natural honorable mention for me. My second honorable mention is one that's grown on me. The first time I saw it, I was not a big fan. It's the Coen brothers, Inside Llewyn Davis, a dark comedy about the early 60s folk scene in Greenwich Village, beautifully recreating that era. I like the lead character played by Oscar Isaac. He's sort of an antisocial drifter who's going from couch to couch. Right. Doesn't really have a home. He's got the cat that he's taken and loses it, a cat named Ulysses. He's got a fledgling music career that he's trying to keep afloat. And, the people around him, the John Goodman's in there, and Carey Mulligan, Adam Driver, Justin Timberlake, they all add a little something to the movie. So that's my second runner-up or honorable mention. My third runner-up or honorable mention is one that nobody really talks about, but I find this movie really interesting, and that's Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yep.
From 2018. It's sort of a Tarantino-esque plot, the filmmaking style. He tells it non-sequential sometimes. It's got a great performance as Jeff Bridges as a priest. Dakota Johnson's in it. John Hamm as an FBI agent. And they're all meeting at this hotel, which is right on the border of Nevada and California. And you decide, where do you want to stay, in Nevada or Colorado? They have keys in the shapes of the states. And all kinds of stuff takes place. It's a great ensemble cast. So anybody that hasn't seen that, Bad Times at the El Royale. My fourth honorable mention is one, I believe it, I've only seen this once, but I'm putting it on the list because it's so different, and that's Boyhood. Richard Linklater's film, experimental, was filmed over the course of 12 years using the same young kid acting from age, 6 to 18.
Yeah.
And you see his growth every year. They go back every year and shoot a couple scenes. His sister's in it. Ethan Hawke is the father, and Patricia Arquette, who won the Oscar for supporting actress, is the mom. It's a 3-hour home movie, one of a kind of experience. I enjoy it. My last runner-up here is the movie Once, sort of a little gem of a movie. I'm sending this out to my buddy Steve from All the World's a Stage. It's his favorite movie of all time, and I wanted to put it on the list. Dublin street musician meets this innocent Czech immigrant girl. They form a friendship. They write songs together. They make a demo. It's got a lot of heart. It's charming, romantic, touching, and I really love the movie. So those are my honorable mentions. Number 10 on the list is Castaway with Tom Hanks, sort of a one-man show directed by Robert Zemeckis, reuniting them from 6 years earlier when they did Forrest Gump and won the Oscar. This guy, at this time, Tom Hanks plays a FedEx worker, system analyst who's on a plane that goes down in the South Pacific on an island. He's there for a number of years, and it's just a story of survival. It's entertaining. You got Wilson, the volleyball, who's his only friend on the island, and he finds a way to get back home. It's one of Hank's best performances, so I wanted to conclude that. Number 9, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm so glad you guys recognized it. Fantastic, and homage to old Hollywood, as has been mentioned. Tarantino, the dialogue, the scenes, the driving around L.A., the different soundtrack of the period piece music, and the references to the TV shows of the era and movies of that time. Brad Pitt and Bruce Lee squaring off is priceless. I like the hippie chicks. I like the Spawn Ranch where the Manson girls are hanging out, sort of. And Bruce Dern has a little role in there where he plays this crotchety old bastard. He's funny. Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate, who lives next door to where Brad and Leo are. And there's a whole interaction there. And has the alternate ending that Tarantino's known for. Manson even walks up at one point. You see a lookalike Charlie Manson, and it's a foreshadowing of things to come, maybe. But great movie. And it's one that's grown on me over time, too. Number 8, back-to-back Tarantinos. I'm going with Inglourious Bastards. Doc's number 1. I have it at number 8. I couldn't leave it off the list. It's just a wild ride.
Totally.
It shows Tarantino's genius of weaving this script together of the Nazis and the Christoph Waltz character, first of all, is
hype.
Stupendous. I mean, he steals the film.
I heard that Adam Sandler was supposed to play the Jew Bear. That role was written for him, and he couldn't. Conflicts kept him away. But.
Yeah, it's got the brilliant dialogue. Every scene is fantastic. Brad Pitt in that scene down in the dungeon with the girl and the shootout that takes place. The movie theater with the fire, and they're going to get rid of all the Nazis. Fantastic. And then that final scene, I don't want to steal it or give it away, but the last words were, this could be my masterpiece. And it's just brilliantly done. Absolutely brilliant. Number 7 is one nobody touched on, but I like this movie a lot. And that's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yep.
Directed by Martin McDonagh, starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. You got these flawed characters, a drama, so to speak. It's got a little bit of humor in it. It's well written. empathetic characters when they need to be, but they all have their chinks in the armor. They're not easy people to like necessarily, but it still works as a great movie. As Frances McDormand puts billboards up, blaming the sheriff or the local police department for not solving her daughter's rape and murder. It's very interesting. McDormand and Rockwell both won Oscars for this. Fantastic movie. Number 6 is The Town. Ben Affleck wrote and directed. I love this movie. This is one I probably watched as much as anything. Crime thriller, Boston bank robbers. Again, ensemble cast. I like Rebecca Hall as the romantic lead, who's a bank teller who gets robbed early in the film, and John Hamm as the FBI guy, I guess. Jeremy Renner as the partner, who's a loose cannon. You never know what he's going to do. There's a scene in Fenway Park, which is fantastic at the end of the movie. I like Pete Postlethwaite as the guy who hires these guys to do the crime. Chris Cooper as Affleck's father, who's locked up, and they have a good one-on-one scene as well. Great writing, surprisingly out of Ben Affleck, good direction. Number 6. Number 5 is Road to Perdition, another one of these crime dramas set in the Great Depression, 1930s, Irish mob, with Tom Hanks and Paul Newman in the leads. Jude Law as a great villain. Daniel Craig is another wild man in that movie who just does what he wants. He doesn't listen to his father. And the young kid played by Taylor Hoechlin really is an excellent child actor at the time. It's about fathers and sons, loyalty, family, revenge, honor among criminals, and the consequences of violence. Paul Newman's last live action film role. He would die not long after this. And Jude Law is really good as the villain, the photographer, who's also a hitman. Number 4, Michael Clayton. This is my favorite George Clooney movie, a legal thriller. He's a fixer for a big-time New York City law firm. Great, intelligent, complex, brilliant script, suspenseful, great supporting cast with Tom Wilkinson and Tilda Swinton. If you like clever dialogue, a great story, top-notch acting, a lot of twists and turns in it, great executed, stylish thriller that I really watch repeatedly. Number 3 is Almost Famous. Had to put this on my list. Cameron Crowe's sort of semi-autobiographical comedy drama about a teenage journalist writing for Rolling Stone magazine in the mid-70s, 1973, actually. He's touring with a fictitious band named Stillwater, and they take him under the wing, and he's hanging out with the groupies called Band-Aids, and it's an offbeat, charming little film. Great ensemble cast again, with Philip Seymour Hoffman as Lester Bangs, who's sort of giving this kid advice along the way. Frances McDormand shows up in here as the mom. Kate Hudson is the lead groupie. Really fantastic. Another great soundtrack, and a personal favorite that I wanted to put high on my list. Number 2 and 1 have both been mentioned before. Number 2 is The Departed. Martin Scorsese, of course. We'll talk about a perfect cast. Lots of star power. This one has it, man. Leo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon, Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, and Vera Farmiga is the shrink. You got a lot of moles, rats, informants, internal affairs, and here FBI people, and it's all about finding the rat and cat and mouse situations. It's fantastic. My number 1 was an easy pick for me, and that's No Country for Old Men from the Coen brothers. I just love this movie. I love everything about it. Again, cat and mouse chase thriller at times. You got a bag of money that's found, a drug deal gone wrong. It's extremely violent. It's tense, atmospheric, thought-provoking, philosophical, flawless cinematography here by Roger Deakins. It looks like West Texas, I guess, where it's at. There's no soundtrack. It's got that ending that you can read into some things. And Tommy Lee Jones, again, fantastic as this old guy who just can't understand the world around him. Nothing makes sense, and it's really No Country for Old Men. So fantastic movies here. I think Woody Harrelson is the bounty hunter. And you guys mentioned Javier Bardem, an all-time villain. And Josh Brolin's good, too, as the lead guy here. So awesome. That was a lot of fun. Great.
It was a blast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of good movies.
All good stuff.
Sure it is.
Yeah, all good stuff. We all have our different perspective on it, which is cool. That's the way it should be. Favorite lists, and some of them crossed over, which was a surprise to me. I didn't think we'd have that many. I think would we have one that everybody had?
Yeah, if you count honorable mentions, all of us had The Departed.
All of us had The Departed on the list. Did we all have No Country at least?
Did we all have No Country?
We all had No Country.
Yeah.
Did we all have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I did not.
Three of us.
I did not.
Three of us did.
So that was cool. Awesome job, guys. Appreciate it. Now, just as a teaser, next time we're going to get together, it's going to be on Brian's channel, Massey's Main Entertainment. We're going to do a 10-part series of our 100 favorite movies of all time. So we're going to span from the silent era to the present, all kinds of genres, whatever you want to talk about. It's going to be really interesting to see where that lines up. You're going to have film noir, you're going to have comedy, you're going to have thrillers, you're going to have sci-fi, and whatever you can think of. Every category is going to be mentioned, I'm sure, within that 100. And you think that 100 is a lot of films, but when you break it down over 85, 90 years of movies, it's not that much. It's cream of the crop.
It's really tough.
Again, it's going to be subjective, our own opinions. So we hope you'll take that ride with us. Check out Massey's Main Entertainment. It's going to be a link to his channel in the description below. So, guys, thanks for doing this with me. Check out Brian's channel, of course, Massey's Main Entertainment. Randall Nelson, who just started his own series. Check that out, where he's doing movies and TV show, a song, and an album from every year from 1950 on. I'll link that below, too. So check it out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Leave a like if you like this kind of content, and comments. We always appreciate it. So thanks, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.